What weighs less than 4 ounces and helps you make tons of money? Let's talk about it. Welcome to the RK3 Show. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me. Today is a great day, and I know you're going to love the show today. I love doing it. I'm getting excited. Just thinking about it. Yes, we have a great guest today, but before we get to the show, another one. Yep, I got another one. A joke. Here we go. So I went to this funeral one time, and the pastor said he heard the graveyard was overcrowded because people were dying to get in. Yes, you loved it. I know you did. Think you can do better? Listen, I've got a challenge for you. Send me your best dad joke by leaving me a voicemail at robertkennedy3.com/voicemail. That's robertkennedy3.com/voicemail. I'll play your dad joke on the air. Let's see what you got. Now, before we jump into the show for today, I want to remind you, head back to episode 33, where Kirk Nugent shares how to navigate your leadership career. Listen to the show, leave a review, let me know what you're thinking. Okay, let's go. My guest today is Cathy Fyock. Cathy is a speaker, an author, and is known as the Business Book Strategist. She believes that it's holy work in writing and telling your story, and that it's also holy work to help others tell theirs. Cathy sure enough got a story. Let's tell it. I want to, first of all, thank you for the work that you're doing with speakers, not just people that are experts or people that are a long time in the business, but people that are newer speakers as well, helping them to really establish themselves. So I want to jump in really quickly. There's a phrase that you have on your website that I want you to talk about for a second. You have that you are a business book strategist, right? But you also say, and I love this, that you are my possibility partner. Tell me a little bit about that and where it came from.
Well, it came from Mary Morrissey and her coaching program that I was involved in before I started this business. And she talked about possibility partners and the mastermind groups. And I loved the alliteration, the energy that's in possibility partners. Now, what I ultimately did was morph into the business book strategist because it's more definitive. People get what that is and understand that more than the possibility partner. But I still love the energy with the possibility partner.
Yeah. So with regard to the term business book, I mean, I can make assumptions about what a business book is specifically, but as it relates to speakers, what would you say is a business book?
Any book that forwards your business or your career. So if it's a book about your expertise, if it's a book about your story, if it's a book about what you know to be true, that's a business book, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you've got some books. I know that, and people like maybe Patrick Lencioni are really good at this. They've got these stories or these fiction books, these fables, and they turn those into business lessons in some way. Do you have experience with that? Have you worked with anybody who does that type of thing?
I did do one of my books, Hallelujah, an anthem for purposeful work, is a book that is like that. It's an allegory or a parable type book, and it was a lot of fun to write. Although it's pretty hard to write one of those.
What are some of the challenges? I can imagine the story and relating the story to something that might make sense to people, but probably there's a lot more fun in it as well.
There was a lot more imagination. There's a lot more storytelling and just making up the story that you want to couch the lesson, the truth that you want to share. So it was a lot of fun. But I probably won't do any of those again real soon.
Yeah. So you're an author yourself. You've got 8 books under your belt?
9 now.
Wow. So what makes the difference between someone like yourself who's able to just churn these things out and people who struggle for decades to write even one?
That's a great question. And let me just say this. You might think that I love to write. You might think that. But guess what? I really don't. Ooh. I would much rather speak. I would much rather consult. I would much rather coach. I would rather do anything other than write. Writing to me is a very painful process. Wow. It's grueling. It's hard work. But I have to say the benefits of writing are so fabulous that it's worth all of that hard work.
Wow. So if you could be specific about maybe 2 or 3 benefits, what are some of those benefits for writing, especially a business book?
Well, I tell some of my authors sometimes that it's almost like a book is magic. It's like that. There's something that it just magically opens doors that were closed to you before. I know many speakers who've wanted to keynote for conferences. That's just not possible unless you wrote the book on it. A lot of consulting opportunities. They want you to have written the book on it. It's something that really proves your credibility. It demonstrates your philosophies. It demonstrates your thought leadership. So it is a wonderful strategy to get more business. I'm all about using books as a business development tool. And that's what when I coach my authors, it's not just about writing any book. It's about writing the right book that will propel your business.
I'm glad you said that. That's a perfect segue. So how do I know what book is the right book? I mean, if I go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all these, I see all of these books. And if I'm specific about my field, I see a lot of books in my field as well. There are tons of leadership books, tons of communication books, tons of sales books. How do I know what book is going to be the one that I can write that's going to sell?
Great question. Here is the real key. Where do you want your career and your business to go? What is the thing that lights you up, that gets you passionate, that gets you really excited? That's what you want to write your book about. It's not about where you've been. It's about where you want to go. Right. And that's where you need to write your book. And frankly, that's where a lot of people make a mistake. They write about what they've known and done in the past, which isn't what they want to do in the future. And so then they're surprised that their book doesn't take them to this new place. So if you want to do something new and different, you have to write about something new and different. Case in point was my changing from my background as a human resources consultant, speaker, trainer. That was my past. But when I decided I wanted to pivot and move my business in a completely different direction, I needed to write the book on it. Wow. And that beautifully positioned me to take off in my new business and go in this new direction.
Communication, motivation, leadership, and more. You're listening to the RK3 Show.
Have you grabbed a copy of my latest book, Find Your Voice, 28 Secrets to Inspire You to Speak Up? If not, grab it today on Amazon or via the link in the show notes. That's Find Your Voice, 28 Secrets to Inspire You to Speak Up. And now, back to the show. So let's talk about that from a confidence perspective. If I'm positioning myself for the future, I don't necessarily know everything there is to know yet about the topic or the idea that I want to position. So how do I get past that obstacle? Oh my gosh, I'm not the expert yet, right? But I still got to write a book on this thing.
Well, here's the thing, is that you don't have to have everything that you know be in your book, which is a great thing. Sometimes I find that my authors are hesitating to finish the book because they're still learning. They're lifelong learners, and they keep learning some new little tidbit that they want to include in the book. And I said, just give it up. You're never going to have in your book everything that you know about that subject. You would love for it to, but it never will. So just give it up. The other thing is I tell my authors is that I really believe that you don't start writing a book by doing research first. You write it from your own experience, from what you know is true, and then you research to fill in gaps and holes and to validate the content that you've already written. I say for many of my authors, doing a lot of research on the front end is productive procrastination.
Wow. That is so good.
I know. So many folks are like, they're thinking, well, I need to become more educated on this before I write. No, you need to just write and then fill in the gaps, because you're putting off writing your book is just productive procrastination.
So let's kind of pivot just a little bit, because you've got this new project that you've just released with one of our former guests as well, Lois Kramer, and you've got this book called The Speaker Author, and I love the subtitle, Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. Tell me a little bit about that book, the focus of it, the process.
Well, what's been interesting is I've been working with clients. I find that most of my clients are writing a book to grow their business, to position their speaking business, their consulting business, their coaching business. And it's all about how you weave these things together. So it's not something you do separate from and away from your strategic business plan. Your book plan should be integrated with your business plan so that you are creating the book that drives your business forward. So when Lois and I got together to write this book, we wanted to write a book that was really helping the speaker sell more books, but also helping the author sell more books and book more speeches, because we know it goes back and forth. But there has not been, at least to my knowledge, a book that's been written about the interplay of authorship and speaking and how one can support the other. And that's what we wrote about and we're so excited about.
What are some of the challenges that some of your clients, what's maybe one of the biggest challenges that your clients face?
Sometimes it's just figuring out how to be really intentional about being an author who speaks or a speaker who writes. And so getting that in your head. I just talked to somebody the other day, for example, and she said, you gave the best tip on a webinar. She said, when you said on your handouts, you should, first of all, call your presentation the same name as your book title. And then you should have at the bottom of every page how to reach you as the speaker author. She said that was she said, I thought about it later and she thought, duh.
Yeah.
But she said that's just a tip that no one had ever shared with her. So that's one of the tiny little tips that we include in the speaker author to help you think more intentionally as both a speaker and an author.
Wow. And you're so right. I've seen tons of books and that's a gap. There's no contact information. Maybe the publisher information is there, but the person who is a speaker or who has the possibility to become a speaker as a result of this information is not able to be contacted because they don't have it there. Wow. Yeah. So what would you say is if somebody is just starting out in the speaking industry, would you recommend to them that they really just try to get the speaking under their belt, get a handle on that end of things, or should they pretty early on look to get into writing a book?
think that's a hard question to answer theoretically. Yeah. I think that when I talk with people, I usually can find if they have a solid message, if they have a core passion, if they have done enough speaking that they know that's the direction that they want to go, then they're really ready to write a book.
Right.
But if they're just sort of playing around and they're sort of not sure of which target market or which audience is really the best for them, or they like a whole bunch of different topics, it's probably too soon to start thinking about writing that book.
Right. What if you have already done it? Let's say that you've gotten 3 books under your belt, and they are 3 wildly different books, different topic areas, and now you're wanting to gain some traction. But you've got these 3 things that are out there. What do I do with that?
Well, one strategy might be to look at the overarching strategy that pulls them all together. What is the underlying theme? Is it about positivity? Is it about leadership? Is it about what is the theme that pulls all 3 titles together? Because there probably is an overarching theme. And then thinking about building that as the platform with each of those books supporting that big platform.
Awesome. Listen, I don't want to give away all of the stuff. I want people to get your book because this is an amazing resource for people. So tell us a little bit about where to get in touch with you, how we can get a handle of the speaker author, sell more books and book more speeches.
You can buy the speaker author on Amazon, and it's pretty straightforward. Just go to Amazon and order your copy. And then I love working with either speakers who want to write that book or authors who want to move into speaking. That is really what I do. So I have a number of different coaching packages. I'd love to have a complimentary strategy session with individuals if they would like to learn more.
I hope you're inspired. There's money to be made from speaking, from writing, and from your story. But more importantly, there are people to be served and saved from your story. Get on out there and tell it. That's all, folks. Head over to the show notes to grab the links and all of the important resources from this episode. Then go over to Apple Podcasts to leave a ranking, rating, and a review for the show. Also, head over to the other major podcast outlets, Google Play, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope you had fun today. I hope you learned something, but most of all, I hope you were compelled to jump out of your comfort zone and share your story. Don't forget, everything that happens to you in life is your stuff is your story, and your story deserves a stage. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3, and you've been listening to The